Hey, shalom, family. Sorry about the time and the things of that nature. But I just want to come back with a Q&A, just to get everybody back into speed with lectures that are coming soon. I've been building a lot of lessons. You know, seems like I've been away for a little bit, but I've been here in spirit as far as just gathering lessons and things of that nature with a lot of stuff going on in Israel. I know there's a lot of people with a lot of questions, things of that nature, and I kind of want to get off of that a little bit and jump up to speed back with education and kind of looking towards looking focusing on the prize, which is in Christ. So getting back into the nuggets and the rich wisdom and the rich knowledge, kind of getting out of the mentality of well, everything's been going on in Israel, man. We got to just use righteous judgment. But I'm gonna come back with a Q&A, questions and answers, because I just kind of want to see where everyone else is at as well. People can definitely come in and interact. Apiak will drop the link if you want to come in and interact. So we definitely want to just get back on track with certain things. So definitely going to be coming out with a lot more lessons and things of that nature. But put a one in the chat if you can hear me well. Just don't want to be an inconvenience to everybody. Put a one in the chat. One in the chat. All right, that's good. All right. Let's open up with comments, questions, things of that nature. You can ask anything, even with certain things that's been floating around Israel. You can ask questions, things of that nature. But just kind of want to see where people are at this point. Go ahead. What's up, my shot?
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube.
And
you got the Germans telling the truth about who we are. Telling that it's going to be us the ones to save the world. Like the Antichrist, Germans, you got the white evangelicals, same thing. They digging up portraits from Notre Dame saying it, and even got Baba Barber talking about it. So I'm trying to figure out why are they coming up? Why are they revealing the truth?
All right, I'll get that for you. Let's get
a bunch of it.
Go to Psalm 64:1. So he asked the question, why are they coming out saying a lot of truth lately concerning the what the Israelites are saying? One, because you can't have a lie without the truth. And then when people find out the truth, you have to lie around the truth and kind of admit to it at the same time. You get what I'm saying? Like kind of what the serpent did in the garden with Eve. Said he just doesn't want you to be like gods. Well, that's the truth. Once you eat of knowledge of good and evil, you know both. That's why the Elohim or the AHLAHAYANAWA said, behold, the man is like us now, knowing both good and evil. That was the truth. You're going to be enlightened. But the lie was, you're not going to die. Right? So the devil told the truth with the lie. And that's what normally happens. So give me Psalms chapter 64, verses 1.
Just the book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David.
Right.
Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity.
Insurrection means overthrowing, because the wicked wants to overthrow the righteous off the earth, right? Overthrow the truth from off the earth. And we've seen them do that throughout history, and the prophets spoke that would take place in many places. But go ahead.
Verse 3. who wet their tongue with a sword.
Like a sword.
Salakia. Who wet their tongue like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words.
See, bitter words, right? Go ahead.
That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him that fear not.
And fear not. You gotta.
And fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter.
Right.
They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them?
See, they're laying traps, and they've laid traps all throughout history. Okay. They set up a lot of textbooks and false histories and things of that nature. And when the righteous come out to prove these things, they already got references that they could come back to you with. They got us in a net of knowledge, in a sense, right? So when the truth comes out and we start proving things, it's just like, okay, all right, well, yeah, that is true, right? But they know that it's their time. The Bible says Satan knows his time is short. So he had to cover up a lot. Job 22 goes into that, right? But go ahead.
Verse 6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search.
See, they search out iniquities. What does that mean? When you get arrested, they got you in their books. You get arrested again, they push a button. Oh, there he is. Darius Cooper.
Wow.
All right, got your photo, your fingerprints, right? They search out your iniquities. They call you a felon. They see your misdemeanors, right? They accomplish a diligent search, right? They will search out your history. They will search out your birthday, right? They'll search out everything about you. Not only that, from you getting pulled over and them searching your car, man, they'll rip your seats out. They'll accomplish a diligent search, right? A lot of us been searched by police, right? And not only that, on a higher level, they're all in pyramids and swimming out in the bottom of the ocean seeking for our truth and the truth of this planet, right? They're seeking a diligent search. That's why the scriptures say what? How the hidden things of Esau shall be sought for, because he sought a diligent search, right? He hid things, and now everyone notices that he hid things. What? We're bringing them to the forefront. So this is what's been taking place in the news concerning Mashak's question. But keep reading.
Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep.
See, he's not a shallow surface level enemy, right? He studied you decades before you studied him, centuries before you studied him. So when he came over to these shores to oppress us and enslave us, he already knew what he came to do. We were asleep, but his inward thought was deep. He had hidden knowledge that it was his time. And he was like, I'm going to take Jake at this time. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 7. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded.
Right. But this verse 8, this is the point I wanted to make. Go ahead.
Verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away.
So what's happening with them speaking out on the children of Israel being the people, like you got historians, lost tribes and promised lands. They said that when they came over here, people mentioned these are the lords of the earth. Well, how do they know that? Well, because the Bible tells you that. Right? Go to Obadiah. Obadiah. Last verse. Right? The Bible teaches you that we're the lords of the earth and we're rising up. The Bible says, rise up, ye judges of the earth. Right? Go ahead.
Just the book of Obadiah, verse 21. Okay. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord.
See, Esau knows that there are saviors rising up to judge Esau on Mount Zion, to judge all the elites on Mount Zion, fulfilling what? Hosea chapter 12, verses 3, supplanting Esau of his kingdom, right? Taking rulership from him. We supplanted his blessing, right? He sold us his birthright. They know that these things are rooted in the history of this Bible, in the narrative between what? Esau and Jacob. And they had to hide that, but now Jake is on his heels. So now he's confessing, we hid things in history. Here's the truth about you. But see, this is the pride of Esau, and this is where the Most High is going to take them, because they're going to think a thing that is not possible. They're thinking an impossible thought that they're going to war with the God of Jacob, right? But next question.
Says the question, can you go into Zoroastrianism?
Okay, Zoroastrianism, during the times of Israel being in Persia, right? Zoroastrianism is just simply it's another form of synchronization, syncretism, excuse me, where they believed in the god of fire, and it links to astrology and things of that nature, right? Let's look up the term though. Zoroastrianism. It's rooted in a lot of the Elamites, one of their main religions, the Elamites, E-L-A-M, right? Zoroastrianism. Yep, go ahead. It's all rooted in yeah. You get the word zero, right? The word zero, right? Well, I can say the number zero, right? You got it? The number zero has a specific shape, right? And there's a reason for that. Yep. All right. Now I need to be able to see the screen again. Yeah, Apayat, got it. There you go. So the number zero, if anybody could put the closest shape the number zero is in, what is it? It's an oval, right? What can you think of that's an oval? What can you think of that's an oval? An egg. Okay, an egg. So when we deal with ancient Babylonian religions, it's rooted in the goddess being born from an egg, or the divine child being born from an egg, right? This is where you get Easter from, Easter egg hunt, right? So Zoroastrianism, right, has everything to do with the worship of Babel. Okay, they all worship that. Remember, the Bible says the language was the tongues were confused, the languages were divided. Same narrative, different religions, same origin, right? So it's rooted in the birth of the mother goddess coming from the egg, the birth of Tammuz coming from the egg, the worship of the sun, the god of fire, the sun, things of that nature. But they deal with a lot of asterism and astrology. So read Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism is a monotheistic religion that originated in ancient Persia. Modern day Iran is one of the oldest monotheistic religions still practiced today.
So it says they believe in one God. That's the God of fire, right? And that's the name of the God, Ahura Mazda, right? Ahura Mazda, the God of fire, right? But it has its hidden origins in what I just explained to you. Okay. says, who created the world and everything in it. They believe in an ongoing battle between good and evil. They believe that the forces of good and evil will eventually defeat evil and restore the world to perfection. Okay, so Zoroastrianism is not a biblical religion, though I believe Israelites took part in following Zoroastrianism. It has nothing to do with the truth of the Bible. I could go into it a little bit more, but I don't want to be long-winded tonight due to being pressed for time. Right, but that's what it's rooted in. It's rooted in that worship of the mother goddess. Okay, when you understand the origins of the religions that you follow today, it's all rooted in the worship of Eve. That's who's being worshipped. That's who was enlightened by the serpent. That's who is enlightening the world right now. Wow. So when they say the God of fire and the God, it all has to deal with enlightenment. Okay, China worshiping the dragon or the serpent. Well, who was the serpent in the garden with Eve? All of it is rooted in that understanding, that forbidden knowledge, right? A science on the left-hand side. Go ahead.
Would that connect anyway with Nimrod's mother?
Yeah, Samuramat.
Wow.
Yeah, Samuramat. Yeah. Yeah, Samuramat, Semiramis, things of that nature. Yeah, but they all believe that the women who are represented by the Eastern Star, right, is a demiurge of Eve. That's all that is. Okay. Next question.
So speaking of Babylon, could you go into a breakdown of the Tower of Babel and its impact on world history?
That's a long history. That's a long history right there. But go to Genesis 11, just for the basic, simple history. Remember, what does Babel mean? Confusion. And you see in Revelation that it says that whore, that she was carried. All of the kingdoms carried this whoredom from Babel, right? Babylon, right? To Persia, Medes, to Greece and Rome. They carried her. But where did she come from? Oh, the original whoredom that came from beyond the flood, but she's still that, what can I say, that image or the exaltation of whoredom, and the goddess of prostitution, fornication, right? Who's drunk with the blood of the saints. Why? Because all of the prophets that went against her altars and their altars, they what happened? They were killed, right? For telling Israel to come out of that idolatry. And that was from the beginning of time. Okay. So she was carried. And that's why it says Mystery Babylon. So she has a deep rooted history. When I say she, I'm talking about the image, the lifestyle, the whoredom and fornication that comes with this image of what we could say the worship, right? Matter of fact, go to Ezekiel 8 and 14 to show you that it's all rooted in the same narrative. It's all rooted. I know a lot of people, they're very intrigued by this because I kind of bring a lot of light to it, but do your research on it. You'll start to see how much of it, is really in your face daily. It was in your childhood, your calendars and your weekdays and your movies, things of that nature. Ezekiel 8 and 14.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Then
matter of fact, verse 13.
Verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
He said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping.
Why you think he said toward the north? North, the land of the north, we know is Babylon. And north also means mystery. Okay, it's a dark place. When you think about the north, right, especially at night, right, when darkness rules and reigns, right, it's darkness, right? It's not much light. The Bible is showing you something in comparison to light, like east, where the sun rises from the east, right? So when the scriptures is teaching these particular abominations, these women were doing what? Go ahead. Verse 14.
Verse 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat woman weeping for Tammuz.
So you might say, well, this is the first time I'm hearing of this person all throughout the Bible. Well, who is Tammuz? Let's look it up. Let's look up Tammuz. Tammuz. I'm gonna show you how much effect the Tower of Babel has on us today and all throughout history. Okay. Tammuz. Oh, look at that. click one of the images. You're gonna have to enlarge it. Yeah, so I can see. Yeah, that's a lot better. All right.
I'll bring this.
That's better. Yeah.
So you can see the chat.
Okay, here a couple images. Where is this? Where is this? This is in ancient Babylon. Okay. So when you read, and we're going to read it, Genesis chapter 11. Okay. When you read Genesis chapter 11, this is a society that was built for mankind to follow. Okay. This was the religion and the idolatry that they set up, the origin of your Christmas and things of that nature. Okay. Go to the actual name Tammuz. And let's get that definition. Right? Because we know Mesopotamia is the land of Shinar or Sumer in the Bible. Tammuz, a Mesopotamian religion, god of fertility. What did I just explain to y'all? Where you get zero from, where you get Zoroastrianism from, okay? The god of fertility, the being birthed from an egg. That's why they said Christ did not come from a sperm and he magically appeared, right? And came from Mary, all in the exaltation of this specific religion where there was a miraculous birth of some sort, where a sun ray, S-U-N, birthed the divine quote unquote child, which is Tammuz. So in the ancient world, this was a real person. Okay, when the Lord told the children of Israel to not make markings unto the dead, right? The dead was this very false godhead. Okay, like Osiris, god of the dead, things of that nature, right? So when the Lord told the children of Israel to not celebrate or follow these particular religious societies, which actually had temples and things of that nature, this is what he was talking about. So when the ancient world heard of a divine child, because remember, it goes back to the prophecy of who? Christ from Genesis chapter 3, concerning the child that would crush the head of the serpent. Well, they created their own narrative and they set themselves up as those divine children in their particular posterities, right? So when it says the god of fertility, it all goes back to them deifying themselves as the Christ. Okay, so when this person comes up into power, Nimrod, he tells the world to worship the divine child. And if you didn't, you were what? Killed. Right? If you didn't bow before these specific kings or pay tribute to them, you were killed. Well, what was the difference between the Pope, who sat in the same seat as the Nimrod, the Narmer Murad, or the Pontifex Maximus, who was the Pope today, right? Who was in the same likeness of the Patizis like Nimrod of the ancient world, when he sent out the image of his son, Caesar Borgia, to be worshipped. It's the same thing. It's nothing new under the sun. It's the same religion that you call Christianity today, or Catholicism, which means universal, which is all a part of their globalist agenda, which goes back to what? The Tower of Babel. Okay? So Nimrod forced the world to worship Tammuz. Okay? In Mesopotamian religion, god of fertility, embodying the powers for new life and nature in the spring. The name Tammuz seems to have been derived from the Akkadian form Tamuzi or Dumuzi with a D, based on early Sumerian, see, Dumuzid, right? There he goes. The flawless young. You see that? What does that sound like? Setting himself up to be an infallible divine child, because the ancient world knew the prophecy. From who? Noah. Which in later standard Sumerian became Dumuzid or Dumuzi. The earliest known mention of Tammuz is in texts dating to the early part of the early dynastic third period, 2600 to 2334 BCE. But his cult probably was much older. Why I say it was probably much older? Because they understand that the cult was before the flood, pre-diluvian, antediluvian. Although the cult is attested for most of the major cities of Sumer in the 3rd and 2nd millennia BCE, is centered in the cities around the central steppe area, the Eden. For example, at Bad Tabira, go down. Okay, I'm just bringing this information out. Go down, scroll down.
Listen.
Okay, scroll down. I'll be up. Yep. As shown by his most common epithet, sapad. Look at that, shepherd. Who's coming and setting themselves up as the false Christ? Okay, this is why you always debate Egyptologists, Assyriologists, Greek philosophers. Oh, the Bible is fictional. We heard of those tales. They're talking about Tammuz, and they're talking about Pharaoh and Osiris and all this other bull crap. Osiris also means what? Seed. Because it's all about them saying that they are the choice or divine seed that came up into the earth, because they understood the prophecy from before the flood, because they were taught by Noah. Right? So as shown by his most common epithet, sapad, shepherd, Tammuz was essentially a pastoral deity. You see that? His father, Enki is who? Nimrod. Is rarely mentioned in his mother, the goddess Dutas. He said, why do you think they call her goddess? I'm trying to explain to y'all, it's all rooted in them being the demiurges of those people who transgress against God before the flood and receive this knowledge by the serpent. Sorcery was a personification of the ewe. Look at that, the sheep. Right? Because Lucifer desires to be like who? God. His own name, Dumuzid, and two variant designations for him, Amaga, mother milk, and Ululu, multiplier of pasture, suggests that he actually was the power for everything that a shepherd might wish for. Grass to come up in the desert, healthy lambs to be born, and milk to be plentiful in the mother animals. When the cult, and this is why if you ever see a picture of any of the mother goddesses, she's normally depicted with her left shoulder exposed and her left breast out, right? Because she's also considered the goddess of fertility through her milk, which is what? Her knowledge. Okay. all mimicking the right side, right? It says, when the cult of Tammuz spread to Assyria in the 2nd and 1st millennia BCE, the character of the god seems to have changed from that of a pastoral to that of an agricultural deity. And they begin to call themselves like the gods of the grain, right? Egypt began to adopt that. And this is where you see it evolve, where you get Osiris, right? His name means seed, which goes into God of the grain. And he's depicted by being the color green with the shepherd's staff. I went over this before, the shepherd's crook and the flail, right? For judgment, right? Men believe he was the god of the earth, the god of the grain. The wheat or the grain represented the people, right? So the root word is siri, which is seed or grain, right? This is why you say Siri, because their god class or those patriarchs and matriarchs and that family, what's the word I'm looking for, that dynasty, okay, they're all fluid, gender fluid. So Osiris, they can appear as a man or a woman, but they appear under the same, what can I say, different epithets, I should say. I'm gonna give you an example. When you're talking to that little machine, Siri, play Jackson 5, I Want You Back. Right? That's the goddess of the grain. Just like there was a god of the grain. That's why you every morning you pour what into your bowl and pour milk into it? Cereal. Okay? All going back to this, right? Every morning, right? The sun rising on the horizon, Horus rising, right? The sun rising, right? This is the world that they painted for you, even in your language. That's why the Bible mentions this chapter in Genesis, which we're going to read, because it has great effect to this day. Okay? It says, when the cult of Tammuz spread to Assyria in the 2nd and 1st millennia BCE, the character of the god seems to have changed from that of a pastoral, of that of an agricultural deity. The text suggests that in Assyria and later among the Sabians, Tammuz was basically viewed as the power in the grain, dying when the grain was milled. The cult of Tammuz centered around 2 yearly festivals, one celebrating his marriage to the goddess Inanna. Remember, we talked about her. And she was an owl goddess. Okay? Inanna. If you ever watched Black Panther, that's what this was talking about. Because her story was she had to rescue her son that was killed for this cult that he set up. And she had to go rescue him from the underworld and redeem him back. This is the same. This is Pluto. Remember Jordan Peele's movie?
Oh,
The Tether, Us.
yeah.
Right. This was that story. She had to go to the underworld. Remember, her true son was switched, and she had to go to the underworld and grab him and save him and bring him up.
Right.
So this is all the same story. They all follow the same narrative. Inanna, if you go into Black Panther, the second one, right? What's her name? Angela Bassett. She's a witch.
Wow.
Yeah. What's the series she had? American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was she was she played what's her name? Tina Turner.
Yep.
Buddhist. She's all over the place, man. Angela Bassett, don't be deceived by that woman. So, and I'm not saying this because I know anything. I'm just saying that from what I see. This is alleged, but that's just from what I've seen, my calculations, right? But if you look at the first scene in Black Panther, right? Remember I told you where the spotted leopard or the wildcat, the Black Panther, the leopard, the jaguar, it's all rooted in Nimrod. Because what does Nimrod mean? Subduer of the leopard, right? Who was a mighty hunter before the Lord, because he hunted the leopards out from that region and created civilization. They worshiped him as a god. So when you deal with the origins of these things, you watch Black Panther. I wish we could pull up that the first. See if you could pull up the first scene, right? Inanna is the owl goddess, right? For wisdom and knowledge of the night. Okay. But
in California somewhere with
yeah, with the owl, Bohemian Grove. Yeah, Alex Jones had he's controlled opposition, by the way, but he put that out because remember we brought that scripture out in Psalm 64 verse 8 says the tongue shall fall upon themselves. They're only going to tell you their secrets in the end because they're the children of the dark. Remember the scriptures say that that wicked one must be revealed, right? And he's being revealed in his time. Yeah, see if you can find the first scene of Black Panther, the beginning scene when what's his name? What's the brother that played Black Panther that passed away? Chadwick Boseman. Yeah. Remember he passes away and he's in his casket, right? And his hands are crossed just like the ancient Egyptians. You remember they always did that because that was who? That was that same family, that dynasty that set up the religion, right? This is it. Apiyak, boy, that's that dude right there. You see the panther? Stop it right there. That is the what you could say the avatar for Nimrod. When you see the Black Panther, believe it or not. Okay. All right. All of this stuff is rooted in this. And I'm trying to explain this to y'all and expose this to y'all so y'all can have eyes to see that you're in a world of idolatry. Okay. Shalom King. You're in a world of idolatry. All right. What's the movie Apocalypto? Remember, it's all rooted in him dying and being revived. What happened in the first Black Panther? He got kicked off the waterfall, right? And he went into the water. Then he rises back. And he has a revelation that he basically transcended and overthrew Killmonger. And he basically had to come to the reality of himself. Well, remember in Apocalypto, when he was at the waterfall and he jumped off the waterfall? Why do you think right outside the waterfall, right when he swims to the, if y'all ever see the riverbank, he has a revelation, and now he's standing up against those who hunted him down. He says, my father what? Hunted this forest. What was his name? Jaguar Paw. Right? Because he represented the what? The spotted cat, which goes back to Nimrod, the mighty hunter. So he had revelation after he's had some type of submerging underwater. He rises up, he has revelation, and now he overthrows them. Same thing. You see, it's just cyclical, man. But you got to be able to see this. Okay? Go ahead. He about to watch it. Oh, he about to watch Apocalypto again, boy. Oh, yeah. But that's what it was about. Good movie. Right? But I want the opening scene of Black, the second one. The second one. I want to show y'all something. Y'all gonna see it. Cause I don't want to. Is that's you? Black Panther 2 funeral scene. Just put funeral scene. Black Panther 2 funeral scene. It's 3 Black Panthers?
Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. In the first one. Oh no, it's 2. Wait, is it? The one with the even part 3. Who was that? The winged right, remember he was underwater. Right. But it was here we go. We'll talk about that another time. No, the opening scene, the opening scene.
When they walk him down?
Yeah, when
that's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Okay. Yeah. Fast forward just a little bit.
That's the right scene. You just got fast forward a little bit.
You see that? So he represents the divine child, right? That's what he represents. See, but look how they dress. I want you to pay attention to how they dress, right? Notice, you know, when they do brujeria and all of that, what do they dress in? All white. But you're going to start to see that they're dressed and they have feathers like an owl. You're going to see some of them have feathers like an owl. Okay. This is what this all goes into. It's the same story. This is what they worship. This is what they love. Right? This is what they adore. Okay. Shalom. You ever see the two horns? Why do you think she has two horns? Because they represent the horn god. Two. That's why she has the two horns. They worship the horn god. See how they dress? Look how they dress. You see how they got the feathers? Right? Why do you think they're dressed with the white feathers? Right? This is in honor of the owl goddess, okay, which is Ainana. Okay, but you guys got to be see. The Lord looks down at this stuff and he knows these origins. So to you, it's like, oh, it's Hollywood. It's a great movie. But the Lord, you got to say something about the Lord, man. The Lord's seen this time and time again, man. Okay, so, you know, this is the impact that, you know, the Tower of Babel has had on history, right? You could X out of that, but go back and watch it. You'll see what I'm saying. There's more to that, right? Where I tell you to go in the scriptures? We were in
11.
We went to Ezekiel 8 and 14.
Those are
right?
the two scriptures we have.
Matter of fact, go to I'm gonna go to where it's talking about Ashtaroth, right? Let's get that really quick.
You got pictures of Nana.
Oh, yep. See the owl goddess. You see that? Right? And see, that's an actual image. Now, do you think that this was a real thing, a real creature? No. These are what you call avatars. Remember, they worship the creature rather than what? The creator. Right? And they begin to deify themselves within the creature. They believe that her spirit went into the forest and went into the owls and things of that nature, and they worship the owls, believing her spirit is in there. Her spirit went into the trees, because where did Eve go? In amidst the trees, right? Witches go into the woods, right? And they go amongst the what? The trees. Okay. So it's all rooted in that. Okay. Where I say to go,
You say you're about to look up Asherah.
okay, yeah. Let me look that up real quick. Let me just give you one example, right? My phone been acting crazy. Go to Genesis 14. and 5. Now, a lot of people don't understand how ancient this Bible is, but it's a very ancient book. It's the most ancient thing we have on earth as far as when it comes to words, literature. Okay. Genesis 14 verses 5. I'm talking about the knowledge that it carries, right? Read that real quick.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 14 and verse 5. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephims in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shava, Kiriathim.
Yeah, right. So
Crazy.
Why did I go here? Because when you see terms like Rephims and Rephidims, right? These are the powers, like how we have particular powers today in our government, different hierarchies and levels, right? Like you'll see Rephidim, right, in the Bible, and you'll think that that's an actual race, but that's talking about principalities ruling in high powers. Okay, so there were just like we have a religious or spiritual wars today. They had them in the ancient world that shaped a lot of the narratives that they celebrate today. Okay, So there were actual religious wars. Okay. When you understand certain religious wars on the left-hand side, what do you think Abraham was warring about? And then why do you think he went to go give a tithe to Melchizedek shortly after? That because Abraham was a part of a particular race and a particular priesthood with a particular God that they followed. And so did those other nations at the time. So that's what's taking place even now. It's the God of Jacob versus the God of Esau, the gods of the heathen, right? So it's the same thing that happened in the ancient world. So what you see is right here, you see where it says Ashtaroth Karnaim. When you go into Asheroth, it says Ashtaroth of the double horns, a symbol of the deity, right? But where is Ashtaroth? Let's go to it. It's Asherah as well in the scriptures. Let me find it, which is Ishtar. Matter of fact, Google it really quick. Google it. Ashtaroth, AshterOth.
ASHTEROTH.
That's why I said it's a very abstract answer for this question, Apiat. Right, Zimiya, yes, Easter. People are laughing at you on Clubhouse. Ishtar is not Easter. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're lost. People in the world be laughing like when you bring up this information because they're so lost. It says Ashtaroth or Astarte was a prominent goddess in the ancient Near East, particularly in Phoenicia and Canaan, which is what? The land of Israel, the Levant, associated with love, war, fertility, and the moon, and often depicted as a consort of the god Baal. Where is this coming from? Genesis chapter 11, right? Ashtaroth was a significant deity in the ancient Near East, worshipped by Semitic peoples, including the Phoenicians and Canaanites. We already read that. Let's go to Judges chapter 6. Right? Judges chapter 6, verse 25. I think people like when I go into this topic. They keep asking about it.
It's the book of Judges, chapter 6 and verse 25. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it.
See, now you see the consort of Baal. If Baal's there, who's there? Ashtar, Ishtar, Ashtaroth. Right? And who's partaking in this worship? Israel.
God.
What are they doing right now? Partaking in the worship of Baal. They got altars set up. They're in church. They give gifts at the altar. They pray, give sacrifices of thanksgiving at the altar. Right before the cross of Tammuz. Ain't that a shame? It's the same religion. See, a lot of people think that this was, it looked just like it is today. The Northern Kingdom accepted this religion, and they had temples. It was many temples. What do you think of churches? It's a temple, right? Walking up the steps right into the Catholic doors, sat down, listened to the priest. They ate the bread. They drank of the blood, the communion with who? Nimrod, Tammuz, and Ishtar. Okay, that's why YHWH had to say, eat of my body and drink of my blood. Why? Because those people were replacing particular wisdoms that were in the ancient world concerning Christ and trying to stand in or sit in his stead. That's why Christ is saying so much things that are in those speaking to those terminologies, because they were trying to take glory from the divine child, rooted in their witchcraft, right? And their understanding that they knew about the divine child, okay, which is Christ. We see that example with who? Isaac. Isaac is a divine child. He was promised to be born to represent who? The Messiah to come. That's why the Lord said, offer him. Okay. And these false Christs come up and give you these narratives as if they were offered on altars and things of that nature for mankind and humanity. And they praise and worship these people. That's why the Lord said, don't make markings in your flesh, right, to the dead. He was speaking of this dynasty right here. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 26. And build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock in the ordered place, and take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove which thou shalt cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord has said unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night.
See, they worship this, so they had so much endearment towards this worship. If Gideon did this during the day, they would kill him. Okay, this is where they believe they got their prosperity, because they worship the gods of fertility, the god of the grain. This is why you see Elijah going against those false prophets, right? Because they believe they got their prosperity from this God. That's why Elijah was like, man, let me shut up the rain, man. Shut up the rain on them for 3.5 years, because they were calling on the gods of the dead people. These are dead people. Your grandmother has a dead man named Caesar Borgia hanging up in her house, worshiping him. This is the God of the dead. Go ahead.
Verse 28. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down, and the grove was cut down that was by it. And the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said one to another, who have done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, hath done this thing.
All right, that's good. Now give me 2 Kings 23:6.
It's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23 and verse 6. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem unto the
this is Josiah.
Unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron.
So that grove was Baal, his consort, right? And their son. That's why in Ezekiel, he said, look what they're doing. They're worshiping who? Tammuz. They were worshiping the same religions that your grandmother is worshiping. And so is Islam, by the way, too. It's not just Christianity. It's all rooted in the same thing. Okay? Zoroastrianism. Okay? Just cute different colors, different titles, different names. Same origin. Because remember, they're fluid, okay, with one another. Go ahead.
And stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people.
All right, that's good. Go to, I'm going to give you some more examples. Go to another 1 Kings 14:23.
This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 14 and verse 23. For they also built them high places and images and groves on every high hill and under every green tree.
When it says under every green tree, Apayak, look up Asherah pole, ASHERAH pole, right? ASHERAH pole. Go to 2 Kings 17 and 10. Oh, not done. An Asherah pole refers to a sacred wooden post, pole, or pillar that stood near the altar in various Canaanite high places and symbolized the goddess Asherah. Y'all see that, right? A figure prominent in the Hebrew Bible. So when we talk about the high places, this is what Israelites were partaking in. The worship of the goddess Ishtar, Asherah. Okay. Ashtaroth. Read that.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and verse 10. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill,
right,
and under every green tree,
right.
And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger.
Jeremiah 44 and 17. Hey, Apiak, see if there's any images on that.
Read.
It's
the book of Jeremiah, chapter 44 and verse 17. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goes.
This is when Jeremiah was prophesying to the southern kingdom, telling them to repent from this idolatry. Go ahead.
But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth.
Do as thou wilt. We're going to do whatever we want to do. Go ahead.
To burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven.
To burn what?
To burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven.
Well, who is this queen? Right? The same dynasty that reinvigorated, right, this idolatry, right, from beyond the flood. Go ahead.
And to pour out drink offerings unto her. As we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well and saw no evil.
You see that? And this is what a lot of Jake is doing, making a covenant with death, bowing down to these images, right? And partaking in these celebrations, right? But see, this is what Israelites were setting up if you see the imagery, right? A lot of it. Now let's go to Genesis 11. 11 and 1.
Okay. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 11 and verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar.
This is Mesopotamia. Go ahead.
And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly.
And they made ziggurats, cities. This was the first civilization, right, that was thriving at the time. Go ahead. They created your zodiac. They created your calendar on the left-hand side. That's why the Most High takes Israel out of Egypt and even gives them the understanding of how they're supposed to follow time. Shows Moses, oh, these luminaries were created for this. This is my law for you to follow. Don't do as they do. Don't do as the Canaanites and the Egyptians do. Right? Go ahead.
And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar.
Right.
And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven.
Right.
And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see
and
the city.
they don't want to be scattered. They want to have one world government. Okay, so the Lord had to divide them. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do.
You know what it means? Nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. When they're in these societies, these secret societies, they do whatever. We do whatever. They'll have a big orgy and then have a dang horse and a goat come through. And people doing all defecating on one another, drinking or whatever, who knows, concoction. Okay. And mating with beasts. Remember, I told y'all that they used to have open orgies with goats and Kemet. Right? Go ahead.
They got in Germany, they got whorehouses with animals.
Yeah, bro. That's what the Lord is saying. They won't restrain themselves from doing anything. That's why you got man blood wanting adults wanting to lie with children, all type of stuff, man. Okay, they're not restrained from doing anything. That's why he says, do as thou will. We want to do what we want to do. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 7. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
You see that? So this is why you're in a system today, and it's mystery Babylon. Okay? It's the same thing, but you got Muslims arguing with Christians. We're the truth. It's the same thing.
Wow.
Right? Well, you think the crescent moon is represented with the pentagram? Why do you think Christ said, I'm gonna give you the morning star? Because we are the true light of the world. Christ is the true morning star. But they set themselves up to be morning stars on the left-hand side. That's why Lucifer said what? Son of the morning. I'm going to sit above the stars of God, the morning stars, the children of Israel. I'm going to be like God. Right? So they had to try to, in some sense, overthrow our knowledge, right? And dim our light in order to be the quote unquote light. Right? But the Muslims, they have the crescent moon and the star, which goes back to the worship of who? The mother God. We just said she was represented by the moon, right? And then you had a religion. You had sun worshipers and you had moon worshipers, right? And who's worshiping the sun? SUN Christians. And they have their wood set up in their Asherah pole for the divine child, Tammuz, the cross. I went into this. The cross is a what? Is an unfolded cube. Okay. The Mecca. Go to the North Pole, and then I'm gonna land right here because I don't want to keep going to be too long with it. Other questions. I don't want to be here long tonight, but go to the North Pole, Saturn. Let's put that up, right? Put that up. They say, oh, yeah, look at you guys, Star of David. It's not a star. This is a shield, which the heathen have taken, right, and have dishonored, trying to mimic being like God, right? North Pole of Saturn. You see that?
That's great.
Now, you see that? And there's a particular storm, right? Or a pattern, right? You know, they worship the planet Saturn, right? Yeah, no, SZA has a song called Saturn, right? And she's worshiping Saturn. Saturn is not a real place to them. It is almost like a magical world where they're gonna feel like when they have their world, they can do whatever they want in their world when they destroy righteousness from the earth. And these are all just fantasies, man. So right now, go up, Abiyak. I wanted to show you something. Now go to you see that pattern? How they storm around the right in the middle of the cube, right? Now just go to Mecca. Go to, type in Mecca, Kaaba stone, right? This is the impact, right? See, that's a clitoris. See, when they go inside the cube, you see that cube, right? They go kiss that cube. That's a clitoris for the mother goddess, the queen of heaven. Israel was doing that too. But look down, you see that crowd of people? They walk in the same pattern around the cube, right? For the North Pole of Saturn. Y'all see that, right? Okay. It's all the same thing. Right? Tephilim. Type up Tephilim. I'm bringing this out again. No, T-E-F-I-L-I-M. I-M-M-M. Yep. See that? You see what he got on his head? The cube. It represents the mystery of iniquity. That's why he has it attached to his forehead, which is for representation of his consciousness. And he has it wrapped around his arm and wrapped it around a particular finger. Okay? To represent the rings of Saturn. Right? That's the cube. So read that verse again that you just read.
Jeremiah 17.
Yeah, I said Tephilim. I'm at Tephilim. My bad.
This is Jeremiah 44, right?
No, the Genesis 11.
Genesis 11. So verse 7. Genesis 11 and verse 7. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
So when they scattered off, they carried this tradition to the places where they scattered to. Elam to his area. They worship who? Krishna. Right? I mean, it's all the same thing. All the Hindu gods, but it's the same gods. They're just fluid. Okay. And you see how he has the middle finger and the ring finger, because the middle finger represents Saturn and the ring finger represents Saturn. I believe the middle finger represents Saturn, and I think the ring finger represents Venus for Adam and Eve. Okay. I mean, y'all look it up. Y'all look it up. All right. Revelation 18. Revelation 18.
18 and 1.
Or 17, Mystery Babylon. 17 and start from verse 4. Thwada Barat.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 4. And the woman.
And the who?
And the woman.
Who's that woman? We know that that's America. We know that that's a particular system or format that America follows. But that woman is the woman who introduced the whole world to forbidden knowledge and understanding and wisdom. Because she spoke to the serpent. That's how sin entered into the world. And the woman was what?
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
You see that? Remember, the Lord showed Ezekiel, look at this abomination. They're worshiping, woman worshiping Tammuz. Right? having a whole Sunday church shouting match. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
See, all the abominations of the earth is rooted in this. And this is her final or the last kingdom of this occult. Okay? That to your point, Apiat, the Tower of Babel began to resurrect again on the earth. Okay, so they tried to organize themselves under this forbidden knowledge. Okay, that's why it says there were giants in the earth. Those giants are what I just showed you, those Rephaims and those Rephidims. Who are the giants in the earth today? Donald Trump, Elon Musk. Okay, Bill Gates. Stick a needle in them. Right? Tyranny. And it says, and after those days. Why I say after those days? Because because what Moses is doing is he's retelling a story because it was reinvigorated again during the times of Nimrod. So he said there was giants in those days and after those days. It's not talking about giants who were 50 feet tall. I mean, I've heard Israelites say, oh man, it was a giant hanging on the ark. It's just talking about the tyranny of this system that you in, right? That caused abominations unto many desolations, wars, right? Now we in the final war because we're going to be in the we're in an age where it's going to be destroyed forever. And the world, the Daniel calls that what? Everlasting contempt. It's going to finally be put down because what? That divine child in which the dragon stood before the woman who is Israel to give birth to this child because they knew this child was soon to come. Right? Because righteousness overcame through who? Christ. So when the true Christ, the true light, came into the earth through Israel, through the tribe of Judah, out of the house of David, the line of the tribe of Judah, right? When he was to come, he was to fulfill what God said was to be fulfilled in Genesis chapter 3, when he would bruise the head of the serpent. Okay? The nations knew about this. That's why I said he stood in the way of the woman, because they know prophecy. Okay? And in the same time, what are they doing? Exalting themselves as the divine one. Okay? If you want to get that in Revelation chapter 12, you'll know what I'm saying. Verse 3 of
it's the book of Revelation.
Start from verse 1.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
This is 12 tribes of Israel represented as that woman. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And she being with child cried.
See, when it says she being with child cried, when the Lord says that she will conceive, yeah, that was through Eve that this would come, and Adam, because remember, they were told to come together. They were the ones who came together to create the race of the children of God, the line of the children of God. So through Eve, she would birth, right, through that posterity of Adam and Eve, just like Abraham and Sarah, right, that came from Shem on down. This particular child, right, or this particular line would birth a Messiah. So that's why it says, and she being with child cried. Why? Because through all of the ages, there was one particular line that was being persecuted. What did the ancient Egyptians do to Israel and Egypt? Right? kill off the children, the firstborn children. What are they doing under Greece? Rome. What did Babylon do? Because they know that why you think they was like, bring us the king's seed into the inner courts? Because they know, according to their understanding, who we are as the sons of God. Then the scriptures say that the Egyptians reckoned us to be the sons of God. That's who we are. Right? Go ahead.
And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered.
Pained to be delivered, because we were carrying a prophecy, right? And when that prophecy was fulfilled at Christ's birth, his death, his resurrection, remember, Christ overcame even death. And many of the pharaohs, many of the patrices tried to overcome death, and they couldn't, right? And they created all these narratives of them going down into hell and Hades and redeeming. That's where you get this from. But Christ is the one that threw off the pains of death, the scriptures say. Right? Go ahead.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon.
See, this great red dragon is not the war going on in heaven. This is how you kill that. Keep reading.
Having seven heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
So who is this? Who is this dragon? This dragon, okay, we know it's the old serpent from the garden, but this is that tyrannical power. Who was that tyrannical power during the times of Christ? Rome. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
See, his tail drew is this the war in heaven, or is this Rome? So Rome was in heaven warring with Michael and them? Go ahead.
And did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered.
See, these 3 stars are who? The southern kingdom. Because they were oppressing who at that time? Judea, searching for who? The Messiah. Right? And it says what? And the dragon stood before the woman. We know that that dragon is Herod, but he was an Edomite. Because at this time, what? They represented the face of the dragon. It says, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Didn't Herod and them know of the prophecy? Yeah. Verse 5.
Verse 5.
And
she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
See, this is the prophecy. This is what they know about these particular people. This is what Satan, serpent, and this is what the Tower of Babel was built for, to oppress the lineage of the sons of God. There were wars in those times, spiritual wars concerning Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and our ancestors, the 12 patriarchs. Okay, go ahead. That's one thing you got to understand. They got the Mishnah Stele talking about how they destroyed the God of Israel and all this other madness. Right? These were actual wars that our ancestors had. Right? And when we were going to sin with our God, what? We would be scattered sin. If we went to war, we would scatter 7 ways. That's why we scattered into 7 damn continents to this day. Right? All throughout the earth, because we sinned against God and we lost that particular power. Right? Go ahead.
And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God.
It's Christ. Go ahead.
And to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God.
Right.
That they should feed her there 1,203 score days.
That's when we got cast out of our land. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And there was a war in heaven.
No, read that again.
And there was war in heaven.
Because how you read it seemed like it was like, which war is that? The Cold War? No. And there was war in heaven. The reason why I told this brother to Nathan to read it again is because you got to understand what it means. There was war in heaven. What do you think It meant when the Lord says, dust thou art, dust thou shalt return, and from the ground, and thou shalt till the ground from whence thy came. That means we fell back down to a lower state, and from where we came from, in order for us to get to our rightful position, we'd have to go through much tribulation and many wars to get there. So when it says there was war in heaven, this is war concerning your birthright. You being the only begotten of God, you being the chosen seed of God in that chosen line to rule the nations with an iron rod. But that only took place through Christ, right? But see, the nations under the understanding and the knowledge and the infrastructure of Nimrod, they understand this thing, especially those that are, well, like we read in Psalm chapter 64, the thoughts of his mind are deep. Your enemy is deep when it comes to these scriptures, deep when it comes to this knowledge, right? So what does it mean there was war in heaven? It's talking about your heaven on earth. Let's prove that. Matthew 11 verses 12. What did Christ say? Your heaven is within you, and it cometh not with observation. So you're warring for your paradise on earth. Okay. Matthew 11 and 12.
Just the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered.
The kingdom of what?
The kingdom of heaven suffered violence.
So Rome flew up into heaven and was fighting Michael and angels, and the angels were suffering violence up there and cast down. No. Christ is teaching you that the kingdom of heaven suffers violence. This is that dragon that stood before the woman that cast down those 3 stars, right? That caused us to flee into the wilderness, right? Until particular time. So there was war in heaven, meaning since the beginning of this prophecy, the children of Israel, the sons of Adam, through Noah, Shem on down, we've been warring. Michael is an archetype for Israel. Okay, go ahead. And so the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. Go ahead.
And the violent take it by force.
See, the nations took our kingdom by force, but Christ likened it to the kingdom of heaven because we are the kingdom of heaven. And this is what I'm trying to teach y'all about the impact that the Tower of Babel has had, because they study things on a deeper level than you. Some people laugh, here's Panah with this stuff. Well, you need to know the stuff because there's spells. Okay, there's spells. Certain music, they'll cast anything on you to keep you in a deep sleep. Fornication. Remember, it says she was full of abominations and what? Fornication. You just seeing a lot of brothers fall to fornication, right? People's YouTube page was looking like the pyramids in Kemet recently, right? Because there's a spirit of an unclean spirit in the earth and even within Israel that God has to destroy out of Israel because of this knowledge. Okay, that has creeped in your mind and is just spewing out of your flesh. Okay. Go back to Revelation 12 and 7. And Apiyak, you knew I was going to do this and be long-winded on this. I think you know that. Go to Revelation 12 and 7. Go ahead.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 7.
Uh-huh.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels.
Right. So the dragon fought and his angels. Who are his angels? His generals, his military, his officials. Okay. Just like John the Baptist was an angel of the Lord, the scriptures say a messenger. Satan, or the devil, and his angels, they fight with the children of God for what? The earth. Okay, this is a war on earth which is likened to our heaven. That's why Christ said the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. They ain't suffering violence up here. They said salvation is come. They praising. They said, woe to who? The inhabitants where? Of the earth. For Satan has come down upon you, unto you with great wrath. Because his power, his tyranny is going to exacerbate on the earth. And you see it what it is today. Trying to trip you up from your blessing. Okay. Go to Micah 5 and 6. And then we're going to continue in the queue.
It's the book of Micah, chapter 5 and verse 6. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders.
So the Bible calls the land of Assyria the land of who? Nimrod. Right? Why? Because this is where in these regions where this understanding came from. Verse 7.
Verse 7. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men.
Mm-hmm.
And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest.
So this is when Jake is going to actually fulfill what the Lord told us to do in Exodus, throw down their altars. Most high willing, I'm going to see Barak bigger than he is now, because he's pretty much ripped pretty much of all his shirts, right? You see him teaching in class, the shirt keep getting tighter and tighter. Man, his brother can't get the Barak gonna be throwing statues across states, right? Destroying all the Asherah poles, right? Cracking the heads of particular devils on the planet. That's the power the Lord is going to give to us, man. We're going to be like a lion in the forest, man. Go ahead.
As a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through, both treadeth down the teareth in pieces, and none can deliver.
See that? So the Lord is saying that it's going to be reversed on them. We're going to go through the land of Nimrod, right? And we're going to destroy all of the altars and destroy the temples and things of that nature. That's going to happen again when the Lord gives us our power back. But this is when the world is going to be put to everlasting contempt. Khan? Khan. So speaking of Babylon, could you go into a breakdown of the Tower of Babel and its impact on world history? Was that enough, Brother Abiyat? I mean, of course, we could go into more, but I kind of went to a little further into detail with it, so you could kind of get a good picture. Everybody got a good picture? Kind of put a 1 in the chat if you understood. Next question. Matthew 10 and 5.
Why did Christ command the disciples not to go into Samaritan cities?
I'll go to Matthew 10 and 5.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles.
Stop right there. When he said go not into the way of the Gentiles, we know Christ only came for who? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. So at this time, if you understand history, when you go into the book of 2 Kings, I believe chapter 18 tells you that there were heathen that came into the land and tried to do what? They tried to worship the God of Israel. Okay. Now they amalgamated themselves, and these are the they put princes in the land and top people in the land to to rule over the northern kingdom. A lot of people got the narrative that all the 12 tribes scattered and left the land. It was much of the nobility of Samaria that was taken into Assyria. We went over this before. They gave a number of about 27,000, right? But you had a lot of Israel without any necessary rulers over them, but they had already adopted a lot of the ways of the heathen. So when the heathen came into the land to try to worship the Most High, there was a priest who taught them, because the Most High was sending lions, killing these heathen. So these heathen have been there for a while. So they were mixed in with a lot of the in Samaria, right? But go ahead.
Saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not.
So it says Samaritans, is context. Now there were Samaritans that are Israelites. Okay. But Christ is speaking in context, because back then the Samaritans was amalgamated heathen and Israelites. Okay. So he's saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles. Okay. He wasn't teaching that Samaritans, as far as Israelites under that Samaritan title, right, wouldn't be converted, right? Because we see who? The Samaritan woman at the well. That was an Israelite, right? Where was Cornelius from? He was from the northern kingdom, right? He will be known as a Samaritan, right? So that was just a broad term, but in context, Christ was just teaching, don't go to those non-Israelites. Don't go to those Gentiles, right? But this is key. Verse 6.
Verse 6. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
There you go, right? He's telling you, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Now, these people they most likely weren't lost in their identity, but the reason why he's calling them lost sheep is because it's time for them to repent and come out of particular understandings and particular ways and learn that the Messiah, through David of the southern kingdom in Jerusalem, where redemption was to take place, had arrived and was there to draw them in. That's why he said, I have sheep that are not of this fold. What is a fold? A fold is where you gather sheep. So if there's lost sheep outside of a fold, he wasn't talking about non-Israelites. He was saying these sheep that are over here in Samaria, these lost sheep of the house of Israel, we got to bring them in this fold. Right? People can't understand that aspect of what he was saying. So he was trying to bring them under the house of David, because that's why he said to the woman, what? Salvation is of the Jews. Go to Luke or Acts, Luke 2 and verse 34. Right? This is very key to understand what's going on in Israel at this point.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 34.
Uh-huh.
And Simeon blessed them and said unto Mary, his mother.
This was the priest at the time when Christ was being dedicated.
Behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel.
Uh-huh.
And for a sign which shall be spoken against. Yea, a sword shall pierce through thy own soul also, that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed.
Because Christ's crucifixion is going to pierce the hearts of many unto repentance. His sacrifice would circumcise many hearts, many minds, right? That's why it says, for God so loved the world. That love should pierce your heart. He gave his only begotten son. He gave his son to Israel, right? Go ahead.
Verse 36. And there was one, Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. Now,
Asher was of the northern kingdom, right? Well, you had some northern. That's why I'm actually building a Samaritanism lesson, because say it again.
You're doing it again.
More organized. So there's a northern kingdom Israelite right here, of the tribe of Asher. Well, what's she doing in Jerusalem? No, because remember, the schism was the northern kingdom believed that they were the, what we could say, the chosen kingdom. Because remember, the Lord chose who? Jeroboam. He said, keep my laws and my statutes. But we know he went off, started changing Moses, started changing particular Levitical laws and things of that nature, setting up a temple, right? Things of that nature, appointing high places and things of that nature, changing feast days. And they created a religion outside of David. They said, we don't want any inheritance in David. But then there were remnants of the northern kingdom, like you see who? Tobit, right? It was like we from the tribe of Naphtali. They used to go down into where? Jerusalem, because they didn't leave off of the worship of the Most High at Jerusalem in the temple, right? They didn't leave off from those things. But other northern kingdom Israelites did, and they went to other places to worship rather than Jerusalem. It was always supposed to be in Jerusalem. And like I said, that's why Christ said, salvation is of the Jews. When she said, our fathers worship on this mountain. He's like, no, they didn't. It's not the place of worship. Salvation is of the Jews. Because he was a Jew of the southern kingdom, prophesied to come from who? David. Remember, the northern kingdom, they didn't receive the prophets. They wasn't reading the scroll of Hosea. They was killing the prophets that was going against them. They didn't believe redemption was, but they believed their Messiah would come through their genealogy. This the history you got to understand. Watch, keep reading. But this particular sister, she understood that it was the Davidic line where the tribe, with the Davidic line in that family and that tribe is where the Messiah would come to redeem Israel. Watch, read.
She was of a great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple.
Which what?
Departed not from the temple.
She didn't depart. Why do you think? I want y'all to understand what the Bible is teaching you, and you go into these little back and forths about northern kingdom, southern kingdom, Gentiles to the north, or who are these people to the north? It says she said, and was a widow of about 84 years, right? Which departed not from the temple. Why is it emphasizing that? Because particular northern kingdom Israelites departed from the temple. Right? This is why Christ is having the back and forth in John chapter 4. Right? Go ahead.
But serve God with fastings and prayers night and day.
Verse 38. Here's key.
Verse 38. And she coming in that instant gave thanks likewise unto the Lord.
Now, why is she giving thanks? Because Christ is being dedicated. Why? Go ahead.
And spake of him to all them that looked for redemption in Jerusalem.
That looked for what?
Redemption in Jerusalem.
Redemption in Jerusalem. Because there were particular tribes that didn't believe that the Messiah was going to come from David. They didn't believe that the worship was at the temple or redemption was going to come from Jerusalem. This is why Christ told us that. Woman, you don't know what you worship. Salvation is of the Jews. Always remember that. Yeah, y'all departed and went off and went in your own little schism. Go ahead, King.
They wasn't believing that because of the spew that they had.
Okay. Right.
Because like I don't want to go in a different direction, but it was prophesied that he would come through that.
Right.
So it's like basically like they was letting their internal
affairs. Exactly. And the disbelief of I mean, if you ever read about Samaritanism, man, it was like the wicked Solomon. Yeah. Solomon did wicked, but they was like that wicked Solomon. They hated Solomon. A lot of people hated Solomon. His own brothers hated Solomon. Solomon's own brothers hated him. Right? Remember, Solomon's name is what? His true name, Jedida. I mean, he is beloved. right? Because that was the beloved, that was the tribe where the beloved son would come from. That was the throne. That's God's throne, right? So we always have to remember that as a people, salvation is coming from the Jews, the southern kingdom. Redemption was going to take place in Jerusalem, and this northern kingdom Israelite, who was from that region of Asher, knew she would go to the temple 84 years. Okay, waiting for this child, knowing that redemption was still in Jerusalem and was coming through the house of David, right? So when you read Matthew 10 and 5, read it again for Brother Tazalia.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
See, that's what he's talking to those who don't understand these particular prophecies and teach that the Messiah is there, the kingdom is coming. Right? Jump down. This Salakia. Jump down to, matter of fact, no, Salakia. Psalm 78 and 70.
Just the book of Psalms, chapter 78 and verse 70. He chose David, also his servant.
See, he chose David. Remember, when you read Kings, it says, we don't want any more inheritance in David. We don't have no inheritance in David. And they believed that for centuries. Right? They had their kingdom. Right? Go ahead.
He chose David, also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds.
Now remember, when they left off David, they broke covenant with the house of David, because that's who the Lord chose to make his covenant with concerning the scepter, right or wrong. So that's another covenant that they broke. Remember, he said he broke the covenant between the brotherhood, right, and Zechariah. So we got to go redeem these brothers. So that's why he's saying, don't go in the way of the Gentiles, nor the cities of the Samaritans, because these were the political powers of these Gentiles. We go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these regions. Go to John 10, 15 and 16. 14, matter of fact.
14.
Gun.
There's the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 14. I am the good shepherd.
Why do you think he said I'm the good shepherd? Remember, we heard about Demuzid, the fake shepherd. Right? He said, I'm the good shepherd. Go ahead.
And know my sheep.
Right.
And am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. In other sheep I have.
See, in other sheep I have. Go ahead.
Which are not of this fold.
See, because remember, he's of the Davidic line. And he said, there's other sheep I have which are not of this fold. What fold do you think he's talking about? He's talking about the southern kingdom, the Jews. He's not talking about this is where people be like, well, what are these other sheep? This is all Israel, right? No, he's not talking about Gentiles. He just said, don't go in the way of the Gentiles. Enter not in the cities of the Samaritans, but rather you go to what? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was trying to bring them back under the fold of who? David. Right? Got to get these prophecies correct. Go ahead.
And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold.
Right.
Them also I must bring.
Right.
And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
See, one fold. What's that sound like? All Israel. one stick, right? That's what Christ was alluding to in Matthew chapter 10, verses 5. Khan, put a 1 in the chat if y'all understand. Tazalia, did I answer your question? All right, go ahead. 1 in the chat. 1 in the chat if y'all got that understanding. Khan. All praises. What's the next question?
Question is, I recently heard that currently there's a debate between either historians or theologians that Christ descends from Ebionites.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go into this, please?
So this is interesting. When we were in New York, I heard of the Ebionites before. And they were kind of like the purest form of Israelite culture at the time. Like they were like what you could say, like, because you had different groups. You had Sadducees, you had Pharisees, you had Zealots, you had all types of different, Israelite organizations, though they're Israelites. Everybody had different belief systems. So they say about the Ebionites is that they were, we were talking to, me and YHWH was talking to General Hashar from AOC, and he brought out, I mean, when I'm telling you, this brother brought out some history. We was like, me and YHWH like, we gotta look deeper to the Ebionites. So just stay in contact with us because we gotta, do some further research on the Ebionites because I didn't realize how surface level I was. And a lot of the, when you think about the Ebionites, like Christ came from, mind you, I heard somebody say, Christ was trying to get Peter and them out of the mindset of the Pharisees. I said, Peter and them wasn't Pharisees. Like, where are they getting this from? They were from Jews who were not like Pharisees were like politicians in that time. You know what I'm saying? They were like the political powers between Rome and the Jews. So were the Sadducees. They just had their little schism in particular beliefs. So they were basically the law between the Jews and Rome. So where are you getting that from? So you had, like I said, Zealots, right? You had the Mandaeans, which were John the Baptist's, his disciples. Some of them, they didn't believe in Christ. They believed Christ was a false prophet and false Messiah. And they still exist to this day. And they water baptized. And some of John's disciples believed in Christ. So the Ebionites were what you could say like a pure form of Jews or Israelites, right? They were very strict in their culture, right? So I'm not going to speak too much on the Ebionites without finding more information on the Ebionites, because some say they even had a presence in the Bible, and they were so fierce in their culture that they took them out. So I mean, it's neither here nor there right now, but I got to find some more information. Me and YHWH's been we've been talking about it, and we're gonna actually look deeper into the Ebionites. So that's okay, Sister Micaiah. Because the Ebionites, man, I heard that them was some fierce kin. This dude said, Panah, don't do it. I'm not gonna do it. Yo, shouts. Oh shoot. All right, next question.
We got a series of questions from Azalea.
One question. But if it's getting kind of late.
She got like 8.
Dang.
6.
Where you been at?
6.
You been struggling with Christianity or something? It's been a terrible 2 months for Azalea. Everything going on. Everything going into Israel, man. You good, AHLAHYA? 10 questions. Oh, man.
I'll go.
All right, go ahead.
Let me see. Give this one. It says, why would the Most High allow witches to harness powers to communicate with the dead, evil spirits, etc.?
He doesn't allow it.
Right.
Like concerning Israel. Give me Deuteronomy 4. Right? And like start off at like verse 13.
Where it says that he declared.
Huh?
And he declared unto you his covenant.
Yeah.
All right. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 13. And he declared unto you his covenant,
right,
which he commanded you to perform.
Who's the you? This Israel. So he didn't allow Israel to do. Remember, this knowledge. See, one thing you have to understand is in your life, you being the children of light, the Most High is going to balance you with darkness because you must face the duality. He's going to balance you with dark times. He's going to balance you. What did Job say? He said, should we only receive blessings from the Lord and not curse? He has to balance you to be made perfect. Even Christ had to go through that delicate balance. He got, I always tell people, Christ had to enter into the kingdom. In order for Christ to be exalted by the Father, he had to enter into his purpose, into the flesh as well. And Christ was faced with darkness. Christ was faced with Satan. So the sons of God, the daughters of God, must be balanced with darkness. But we must condemn the darkness or condemn the sin within the flesh like Christ did, so we can overcome and receive that eternal inheritance. Because when Adam was given it, right, we see what happened. He spoke to the serpent who gave him knowledge when he was supposed to subdue it. So now that this is entered into the world, it's running rampant. It doesn't mean the Most High is allowing it. No, you as the children of light were created to judge it. Right? Go ahead. Back to Deuteronomy chapter 4.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 13.
And
he declared unto you his covenant,
right,
which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess.
See, our purpose, remember, he took Adam, it said he formed a man from the dust of the earth. He gave him wisdom, rose him up. Adam is a high priest over the world. Darkness don't comprehend the light. So Adam had to do what? Govern the earth, till it, rule over. That's what the word till means. It means to enslave and have dominion over. That's why Christ is going to rule the earth with what? A rod of iron. Go ahead. He's going to kill witches in that day. Go ahead.
Verse 15. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb.
Go ahead.
Out of the midst of the fire.
Right.
Lest ye corrupt yourselves.
Lest ye what?
Lest ye corrupt yourselves.
Go ahead.
And make you a graven image.
Right.
The similitude of any figure. The likeness of male or female.
Right.
The likeness of any beast that is on the earth.
This is talking about Israel. To Israel. Go ahead.
The likeness
talking to Israel about idolatry. Go ahead.
The likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air.
Right.
The likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground. The likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth.
Right.
And he going into detail.
Yeah. Right.
Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven should it be driven to worship them.
The planets, the stars, when you see them and you discover them, right? You be driven to worship him. See, what do you think? Tarot cards and all this stuff. We could read the stars. We could read the signs, right? That's magic. Go ahead.
And serve them which the Lord thy God has divided unto all the nations under the whole heaven.
See, the Lord gave these particular things for the nations to worship, right? You read that in the NLT, it literally tells you that, right? That he gave these particular things for the nations to worship, for their stumbling block, right? Go to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7.
This is the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work.
Magic, witchcraft, warlocks, witches, sorcery. It's already working. It worked at the time of Paul. It's working now. Go ahead.
Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way.
So the Most High is allowing these things to occur on earth because it was your job to judge it. You broke. The Most High told you this was going to happen. We are the kingdom of kings and priests that are supposed to judge these things. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
You see that? The Lord is going to destroy them in Armageddon judgment, right? And the spirit of his mouth. He's going to speak and people are going to be put to death. It's the power he has, because everything is going to be confirmed through YHWH in that day, death and life. Because the Most High gave YHWH that power to sentence you to death. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders.
See, he's going to even destroy him, so-called white man, right? Quitsu Ocha. White devil, right? Or Esau, I should say, right? And look, this is not a bashing party, right? I'm not talking about the Edomite that's in your job, No, hey, Tyrone. He doesn't really know what's going on. But he's going to go to the damn Christmas party and he's going to be like, hey, come over here, Tyrone. See some Christmas cookies. He has the spirit of Satan in him. And Satan's deceiving him too. But his ancestors set him up real nice, because guess what? The Lord said these powers are for these people, man. They're going to worship that. You can't. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 10. And with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish.
There you go. Because they're not going to receive that everlasting life through Christ, because they have all deceivableness in them. Even when they're nice. They're like, hey, man, just smoke a bogey. I mean, they could be some of the nicest people, but they ain't going to teach you righteousness, right? We got to be separate. Go to Exodus 22:18. Here's why witches are here, right? Here's why witches are here. Yeah, I got that. Tyrone ain't coming unless some Hennessy in the egg. Don't give Tyrone no Hennessy. He start. And the snow bunnies, you know how Tyrone is. Start looking for snow bunnies in the Christmas party. Already slipping. Right? Exodus 22. What's wrong with Tyrone? Right?
Yo.
Exodus 22:18.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 22, and verse 18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Read that again.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Whose job was it to put the witches to death? Us. Right? We allowed the witches to run rampant. It's so many. And a lot of sisters, man, A lot of sisters is tapping into that too. Heavy. Right? Right. Go one more place. Let's go to Genesis. Remember, Adam was told, man. Adam was told, look, don't eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You know both now. Okay. Genesis 3, or I think, one sec. Let me get the right scripture. Genesis 3, up, and 22.
That's the book of Genesis, chapter 3, and verse 22.
Right.
And the Lord God said, behold, the man has become as one of us.
See, this is the Most High. When you see Yahweh, God, this is Yahweh explaining to the heavens, all of the angels before him, the man that we just gave this light to, guess what? He started partaking in things that he wasn't to partake in. He learned things from the sorcerer. Right? He learned magic and witchcraft. Said, behold, the man is become as one of us. Right? Go ahead.
To know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever.
So the punishment was death from the jump when he touched it, when he ate of it. Excuse me. Because we weren't supposed to know this. We were supposed to be innocent and pure. Right? But see, the Most High, because he knows all things, ain't nothing beating around the bush with the Most High. Oh, this is just magic. This is just a perversion of my science and my knowledge. Someone to seek power outside of me, to be above me and be like me. Right? So he said, look, lest he stretch forth his hand to the tree of life and live forever. Look, man, he has to suffer death for this. Right? And we've been doing it, trying to get into the eternal paradise since this happened. Right? And then what did the Lord put between the tree of life? That flaming sword. And that's what's coming upon the whole earth right now. That was prophecy to show you by fire. It was the flood, but that wasn't it. Who came out and started preaching about the flood? Noah did. But from the beginning, the world knew that this life and this world and this age had to perish by fire. And it's gonna be purged and cleansed so mightily. 3,000 years from now, you're gonna have children and nations. They ain't gonna be like ancient Egypt, Pharaoh. They ain't gonna be talking about these people. They're gonna be written, blotted out from the book of life. They're gonna be blotted out from under heaven. Right? That's when we'll live forever. When I say live forever, I'm talking about the children of God. Okay? Being on earth forever, because Christ said, if I had not come any sooner, no flesh should be saved. Everlasting life can only come at the appearance of the second coming of Christ. Oh, Khan. Right. Next question.
Which one of the questions we do?
Any more questions? We'll do. I think
we got.
Is there any other one?
They try to damn. That's a breakdown, right?
Oh yeah, that's a whole breakdown. Yeah, we would.
And this one.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
That one.
Con. And then we'll get ready to close out.
It says, how does Ephesians 6:12 applies to this lesson?
What lesson? Oh, it's Q&A.
I guess it was during the something he was bringing out. at a time.
So we do. Just read Ephesians 6 and 12.
Ephesians 6 and 12.
I mean, so, you know, sometimes people come on here and be like, oh, that chitter chatter you're talking about doesn't matter. I'll just deal with spiritual wickedness.
Right.
But I'm not saying you, but, you know, some people, they come, they try to make it seem like all this knowledge is, doesn't matter if you know you're Israel. Yes, it does.
I would say for this topic, what you've been covering is basically the gospel.
Right.
Because when you go into Ephesians 6 and 12, it's talking about putting on the helmet of God,
right,
breastplate of salvation,
right,
and a part of the gospel is us defending this gospel,
right.
So I'll say that using that scripture in that context,
spiritual
warfare, answering the questions of doctrinal questions.
I definitely will say that. You know what? You had brought something to my attention to correlate what you're saying, right? So in the beginning, we were talking about you know, how we're in a system where the Bible says mystery, Babylon, the mystery of iniquity. It's the same perpetual, you know, standardized system that came from the Lord says, don't do as the Canaanites. That law still stands. Just because you don't see a Canaanite empire here, their empire and their kingdom influence what we have today. Am I lying? You got a lot of people who would tell you the Canaanites started this banking system, the maritime laws and things of that nature, and people are realizing when they put themselves into a particular enslavement of the system, that was all you know, what can I say, created or invented by the Canaanites, right? The seafaring men of old, right? They say when you get terms like I'm going to the bank, right? You go to the bank, right? And you pull out currency, right? Maritime laws, right? You go to the court and your number is the docket number, right? What's a dock? From a ship, right? A slave ship. You're before a judge that's all black, right? That represents a particular priest, right? So all of this is going into the Lord teaching you about the Canaanite kingdoms, and he said the iniquity of the Amorites, the iniquity of the Canaanites, right? Well, this world has become the spiritual wickedness of these kingdoms. We read Revelation 11, it tells you spiritual what? Sodom and Egypt. So bring out Ephesians 6 and 12.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
So when he says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? Some people look at that and be like, well, see, it doesn't matter what nation they are. Wickedness comes in all colors. Yeah, it does. Yeah, they do. You know, especially when we talk about like salvation for only Israel, things of that nature. You know, they'll say, well, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I think the point that Paul is making right here is there are people that may take out their enmity with evil upon a person, but we have to judge and understand that these are spiritual influences from higher places, right? Why you think you call it a TV program? You've been programmed from people who got literally their fingers on strings calling the shots, and the society is moving right under their control. Wow. Right? So there are people, right, who are in high places. Remember, the Bible talks about those high places, the high places of Baal and the Asherah poles. They're worshiping them in high places. You can't necessarily get to them because they're the powers or the gods of this time. They're the pillars of this society. You can't just knock it down. Christ has to come with the powers of heaven. right? So we have to be reminded that these people are suffering from spiritual wickedness and evil in high places, right? So what do we have to do? We have to be reminded that the weapons of our warfare are what? Not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. That's what we're doing right now through this YouTube, right? We're pulling down strongholds, right? And bringing every thought into the obedience of Christ, right? Because the spiritual wickedness in high places and these principalities are controlling the children of disobedience, right? Give me Ephesians 2:1.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, and verse 1. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses.
See, and see, Christ quickened us by his spirit. Yep. Go ahead.
Who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past you walked according to the course of this world.
Right, where spiritual wickedness and these principalities are ruling. Go ahead.
According to the prince of the power of the air.
Why do you think you call it the prince of the power of the air? What? Wait, who was the god of the air? Bel, B-E-L. The Lord of the air. See, Paul is speaking very conspicuous too. Right? He's almost like he's speaking in code, because these are the codes of particular terms that are near east. He said the God of the air, right? The one ruling in the high place. Go ahead.
The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Who was the spirit working in the children of disobedience? Satan. And all those who oppose God, like it says in Thessalonians, are operating in what spirit? Satan. So when your grandmother is erecting a Christmas tree and putting out Christmas sugar cookies, right, biting it in the middle of the night and saying a magical man came in and ate it, you're no different than the ancient world in the times of Daniel when he had to blow up Bel and the dragon. Bel the dragon, the god of the air. When he said that he was eating all the food and the priest was sneaking in the middle of the night eating the food. So Daniel put the sand on the floor and said, look at their footsteps when they came out from the secret door right here. You're no different. You have the spirit of Satan in you. Right? And that's what's working through the children of disobedience. Okay? So that's what that's going into. But when you read Isaiah 59, the only standard of righteousness and the greatest example of righteousness that we must follow is Christ, because the scriptures tell you he put on a breastplate of righteousness. Yep.
What was that about the dragon?
That's in the Apocrypha.
Oh, it's in the Apocrypha.
It's a book in the Apocrypha. Bel and the Dragon. I mean, you gotta go read that at home. It's a long. We got to get ready to go. Yeah. So yeah, that's what that's going into, right? But yeah, we're gonna close. We're gonna close out. We're gonna Khan, all praises. Hey, we're gonna close out.
You want to just end the stream? Or right?
Yeah, so we're gonna Barak.
Psalm chapter 119, this is to God. Righteous art thou, O Yahweh, upright in thy judgments. Thy testimonies that thou hast commanded are righteous and very faithful. My zeal hath consumed me, because mine enemies have forgotten thy words. Thy word is very pure, therefore thy servant loveth thee. I am small and despised, yet do I not forget thy precepts. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Trouble and anguish have taken hold on me, yet thy commandments are my delights. The righteousness of thy testimonies is everlasting. Give me understanding, and I shall live. In the name of YHWH, YHWH, the one of God, Amen.
Amen. Abad Shabbat. Abad Barak. Yahweh Shimmy outside Rakta.
Bashem Shah Bakathum.